All right, let's see. I believe we're live now. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I had everything set up properly. The last live that we did, a lot of calls were coming in while I was talking, and you guys could hear that in the background coming in. So I just wanted to make sure I knew how to mute it so that once I'm talking to somebody, we're not constantly being interrupted by incoming calls. So tonight we're going to be talking about horrible dating experiences or just horrible um, experiences you've had, just single dates or people that you've been with for a long time and you eventually got out of. I am going to be taking your calls. The number's on the screen up there. It's 801-810-7442. So whenever anybody wants to call in and chat, we can do that. I will start with my worst dating experience. But first, just going to read some of these comments here from Lisa. She says, "Hi, Jake. Good evening, Lisa." Oh, Raymond's here. Hey, Raymond, sending my chat your way. Thank you, Raymond. Good to see you. Raymond had a good live stream today. Jacob Cultivates, looking forward to your live stream. Lisa's wondering where I am. I'm right here. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure everything was working. Raymond says, "What's up?" Hey, Raymond. And Lifeless, change the live format. Oh, there you are. Okay. Nice to meet you, or not meet you, but nice to see you all here. So I'm going to talk about my worst dating experience. When I was 19 years old, and it's going to take a little bit of background, but when I was 19 years old, I lived with my brother and his wife and his friend and his girlfriend at the time. So it was 5 of us all living in a house together. And well, this background is going to be relevant for why this girl ended up being kind of a crazy girl to deal with. Partially, it was my fault. So when I was 19, I was a bit of a criminal. And by a bit, I mean a lot of a criminal. And I checked the statute of limitations, so we're good. It's 4 years in Utah, and it's been 16 years since this was happening. My friends and I, we used to go into luxury homes and rentals and hotels, and we used to have inside people there, and we used to figure out which rooms were empty, and we would go in and we would clear out the electronics from those rooms, and we would take expensive furniture. We had like several storage units that we'd fill it with this furniture and goods, and then we had like a black resale market. This is when I was 19 years old. The girl I was with at the time was actually the daughter of a local police officer who had been a police officer for like 30 years. So he knew everything that was going on kind of in the area. And we were doing this for over a year. And it was one of those things where we assumed we'd get caught eventually and our heyday would end. We would pay for cruises doing this. We would pretty much add anything that we want. We would resell stuff. We'd buy motorcycles with it. And this girlfriend that I had at the time was divorced. She was 35. I was 19 at the time. This is not the first older woman that I've dated. I kind of have a thing for them. But she, because her dad was the sheriff, we could never tell her about this side of our lives. And even though my brother and our friend and their girlfriends and wife all knew about this stuff that was going on. And it was usually at night on the weekends that we would go out and do this, but she would never get invited. So she would always give us a hard time and say, let's see. Raymond says, "Geez, man, the only crime I did when I was 19 was downloading a car." Yeah. Yeah, Raymond. This was like fresh off of losing my religion. And so my morals were very suspect then. I also dealt stuff that I shouldn't have been dealing at the time. We had a friend from California who was about 5'3", and he was in his like mid-30s at the time, super tatted up. And ironically, he's like a first counselor at a Mormon church now. But he had a bunch of connections from California because that's where he originally grew up. And so he and I would drive to California, and we would meet up with his older friends, and we'd get some supply and we'd bring it back and sell it here in Utah. So the entrepreneurial, I've always been entrepreneurial, and that's kind of where it all started. I think I watched too many movies like Ocean's 13 and below, and luckily enough, when I did Proctor Care, which was with kids who were troubled kids, what I would tell them all the time is the only difference between me and you is that I was lucky enough not to get caught. And so, anyways, this girl that I had, the important part here is it kind of got to the point where we knew that we were going to get caught by her at some point because we couldn't just keep hiding that part of our lives from her, because she would always be wondering how the hell can somebody who's working as a draftsman, but I wasn't making a ton of money. I mean, it was only like $15 an hour, but how the hell was I affording all of this, motorcycles, going on cruises and things like that? And really got scary when they started talking about it, and there was like some newspaper article or something that like mentioned it or brought it up. I don't remember if it was an article, but it was written somewhere about, maybe it was on the website, but somebody had brought it up to us. And so at that point, I needed to break stuff off with her, because there were times when I would be at her house and just like chatting with her dad, and just knowing that if he ever found out about the shit that I did on the weekends, that I would be in prison for a very long time. So she started getting a little clingy because her previous marriage, she had divorced, and one of the issues that she had with him is that he would not talk to her. He would have like this secret life that he would never tell her about. So she was always getting after me. What are you guys doing? How come I never get invited to these? We would just make stuff up. Either we were like going out to the movies, or we were going to a show or something. And Lifeless says he was the California connection. No, you were not. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's dead by now with the type of shit that he got into. Where was that? Sorry, I got derailed here a little bit with the comment section. So right. So her previous marriage, it didn't work out because he was very secretive, and she started getting paranoid about me and how secretive I was being. Well, it turns out the reason that he was being secretive was that he had been hoarding a collection of, let's just say, illegal types of pornography. And so she was super paranoid about that with me. And I was like, no, I promise that's not it. And she just didn't believe me. I'm just like, but, that's not what's going on. There was one time when she came over and we had a bunch of stuff in the living room from one of our halls. And she was trying to get in because she would just show up randomly unannounced. And she just starts pounding on the front door, and she says, I know you guys are in there. I know you guys are in there. Let me in. And Rob and I were in there. Oh, shit. I should have said the name. I just made that name up. We're in there, and we had all this like TVs. We had like mini bikes, mini electric scooters. We had skis and snowboards, because we had actually been able to access one of the Olympic teams from one of the some other, I don't remember the country now, but we were able to access one of their units that had all of their skis and snowboards in there. So we had like all that in the front living room, and ski boots and stuff, like probably $10,000 worth of ski equipment, and like resale value. And we were like trying to busy hide that stuff, like move it to the back. And she was like looking in through the blinds. She's like, I see you in there. I got to get you. And Rob's just giggling, thinking that shit is hilarious, just laughing at me. And I was like, no, this is dead serious. Her dad was super strict, super crazy. And anyways, it just got to the point where I had to like just break things off with her, because she was so clingy at the time. And I mean, obviously keeping the secret from her was all my doing, but she was so clingy that there was no way I could have continued to be in that relationship and not have it not work out. Remember, I was 19 at the time. She was 35. And she was constantly calling me, constantly showing up at my house, constantly banging on the doors. And I know that's not like the craziest of girlfriends. I'm sure people have better stories. But yeah, so that would be the my crazy girlfriend experience with her. Let's see. Let's go to the comments here. Jeez, man, the only nice. I love effing older women. Lol, my deacon crimes were pirating movies and paying for puss. Entrepreneurial. Yeah, exactly, Raymond. Very pathetic. I was that California connection. Jacob cultivates. Lol, not for you, but I was for plenty of other people. Hey, how's it going, coffee enjoyer? So, let's see. See if there's working here. All right. So if anybody wants to call in and tell me about their dating horror stories, the line is open. I'm going to read a post from Reddit here. I was kind of reading some other stuff. That's a wild experience, bro. That's a wild experience, bro. Glad you are living a different life today. Yeah, it was a wild experience. There was a really crazy bachelor house at the time. We one night we'd had a party and we had a bunch of people over, but we were all like 19 and 20 years old. We shouldn't have been drinking, but we were. And we had mini bikes and we were racing them, little tiny mini bikes that looked like little bullet bikes. And we were racing them up and down the streets. And we had a corner house there. And the cops eventually got called, but our house was completely full of like 20-year-olds, 19, 20. There's maybe like one or two people over 21 there. And we were all inside. I don't remember what we were doing. I think we were playing Contra on like a big screen. There was probably like 15 or 20 of us in there. And this cop, we just see like cops walking around the house. Like we just see the side of the windows and we just see like all these cops approaching the house. And the entire house was completely encircled with like every single cop. It seemed like every cop in that town. There was probably 20 of them completely surrounding the house. And luckily at the time, we didn't have any merch there at that point. And my one of the cops just starts pounding on the side door, and the door was completely jammed. And my brother walks up to the door, and there was a glass window in it. And it's this cop lady, and she's yelling. She's like, "Open the effing door! Open the effing door right now!" And my brother, because he was so drunk, he just points at the door, points at the cop, and says, "Sorry, this door doesn't open." And then he laughs at her, and then he just walks off, sits back down on the couch. And then eventually the cops broke down the front door, got into the house, started freaking out, lined us all up. Cop comes up to me. Well, not a cop, but several cops come up to me. I'm sitting down on the dining room table. Actually, I missed a point. So I'm in my bedroom. I'm completely plastered. I'd been smoking and drinking at the same time, but I'm laying out on my bed, just like arms spread out, like a Marilyn Manson music video. And I'm singing. I think I was singing a Marilyn Manson song. And cops just pop into the room and say, "Singer, get your ass out in the living room right now." And I'm just start singing about how the cops were there. "Oh, the cops are here. I'm so screwed." Just totally laughing about it all. They drag me out into the dining room. They sit me down on the chair and they start handing me all these beer cans. And they say, "You need to empty out these beer cans right now." And I'm completely wasted. So I just start opening the beer cans and I'm pouring them out on the kitchen table, just spilling beer all over the kitchen counter. The cops start laughing their asses off. "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "What the hell am I doing? You told me to pour the beer out." And they're just like, "You freaking idiot, pour them out in the sink." I was like, "Well, you need to be more specific. I'm just following directions." So, my sister-in-law and her friend are there. Their shirts are off, and they've got these beer bottle caps on their nipples. I think they like licked the bottom of them, stuck them on. The cops go up to them, and they go, "How many drinks have you had?" And both of them were just like, "Just one, just one." The cops are looking at their nipples, and they go, "I think you've had at least two." And the whole the cops are just saying this scene is so ridiculous. Half the cops are laughing at us. The other cops are pissed off. They don't even know what to do with the situation. Everybody gets ticketed except for me because I was so wasted that I think all of the cops were there. They were like handing out tickets to everyone, and they were like skipping over me. I was like trying to figure out how to pour the beer, and I think at the end they just completely forgot. They just completely forgot that I had been given a ticket, and a lot of people at that party hated me for that because they were just like, "Why the hell were you the most wasted? You didn't get a ticket. You didn't have to go in any classes to kind of get it off, like removed." But it was kind of funny because I would like pack them a lunch and be like, "I packed you a lunch to take with you to your driving class, or not driving, but it was some like underage drinking driving thing or whatever class that they had to go to in order to get it off of their record." All right, let's check the comments. Yes, I was pathetic in those days too. You have some wild commentary, bro. Yeah, I know. Boosting is pathetic too. That was also pathetic behavior. Boosting and by what boosting was. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. It was pathetic. Yeah, it's kind of hard. When you've got like older siblings kind of pushing you towards doing stuff and you've got friends and you're young and stupid, then you're going to do stupid stuff for sure. I mean, that's what I said to my that's why I told my proctor kids. It's like the difference between me and you is I was lucky enough not to get caught. So, and we justify what we did, of course, like you always do. It's like, oh, all of this stuff is covered with insurance. All our insurance is going to be covering it. So, let's see. Okay, my my male 31-year-old and my 28-year-old wife wants a divorce because I live an entirely different reality with my first love, female 29, in my dreams. Okay, let's see. So I've been with my wife, who is 28, and I am 31 for 3 years. We had a short engagement. We married quickly and have a perfectly ordinary existence. I love her. She loves me. We do taxes, housework. We watch movies, all the normal things. No physical cheating on either side as far as I know. But here's the thing. I am a lucid dreamer, which means I can, to an extent, control my dreams, which is something. Have any of you ever been able to do lucid dreaming? I'm actually kind of curious about it because I practiced it a long time ago, like 10 years ago, and I just figured I was constantly tired all the time for that entire week that I was kind of testing it out, doing like the techniques, waking up, journaling in the middle of the night. I can, to an extent, control my dreams, which is something I find cool as it allows me to go on adventures while asleep. It also makes scary dreams not so bad because I can just wake myself out of them. Over the last year or so, I've been having a recurring dream about my ex, my first love, female 29. Truth be told, I never got over her. We were together for 5 years from, um, let's see, I think from the ages of 17 to 22. We broke up after I graduated from college because she didn't want to move from New York to South Carolina with me, which is where the biggest industry for my field is. I was crushed, but moved on, and we've spoken sporadically over the years, although we never crossed any lines. I will admit that I've kept up with her own social media a bit, but nothing stalkerish. I keep up with all of my exes on social media, on Facebook. Um, all of my exes, except for the one that I talked about, but I only dated her for like a summer. It wasn't like a very serious relationship. But all the other ones that I was serious with, like in high school, I keep up with. They've all got kids. They've all got pretty happy lives. I will admit that I've kept up with her on social media a bit, but nothing stalkerish. Yeah, same way. Well, a year ago, she announced she was getting married, and I experienced a resurgence of feelings for her, although I never acted on them or told her. That same night, I dreamed about her for the first time in years. In the dream, she showed up at my door and asked me if I wanted to get coffee. I said, yes, of course. The dream, which was not a lucid dream, ended there, and it felt really weird. I couldn't shake the feeling once I woke up. Yeah, I'm the type that just doesn't think dreams are a big deal. I dream about the weirdest shit, like shit where, like, I think people take their thoughts way too seriously, especially your, what is it, the intrusive thoughts, like tossing a baby off of a balcony like they're newborns. People think they're going crazy. That is very, very common with new parents. Let's see. Boosting is lifeless. I have done it. Okay. Jacob cultivates. When I was a kid, I could control my dreams and dreaming was more enjoyable. As an adult, I feel like more of a spectator in my dreams. I'm the same way. Yeah. And only remember parts of the dreams. Yeah. I'm actually curious to see. Do you remember, Jacob, when you were a kid growing up and kind of just laying in your bed and you would have like your own fantasy worlds going on? Like you'd have characters in your fantasy worlds. You lived there. You had like a girlfriend or boyfriend and just you couldn't wait to go to bed the next day to continue your storyline. I had a but then nowadays it's like maybe it's because I do wonder if like in the 1950s if people still did that as adults and then The reason that we don't do it as much today as adults is because we have things to distract ourselves with while we're laying in bed. Of course, they had books back then. But yeah, I wonder if that is a kid phenomenon or if that's just a generational thing. Um, okay, so let's see. I felt like we were actually reconnecting. So this commenter is saying, I felt like I was actually reconnecting with her in my dream. Since then, I've dreamed about her several times a week, and I've practiced becoming lucid. So I've been able to control the outcome more times than not. We've lived a whole life together over the past year. That's actually interesting. So imagine that you can just like if the matrix were to get really good where you can just like plug in, could you have a relationship with somebody and would that be considered cheating on your spouse like in that separate universe? Because my when my wife reads books, I think she's reading the Outlander series. She falls in love with characters and the men in them and everything, and she fantasizes about them. But I don't consider that cheating. Since then, I've dreamed about her several times a week, and we've lived a whole life together over the past year. Everything from dates to a trip to Paris together, which we visited while in college. We even rewalked the same paths we did in real life. It got to the point I was looking forward to going to sleep to be with her. Yeah, that can be a problem. Although that might be good for your sleep schedule. Jacob says, yes, absolutely. And going into the dream was where I would pick up on the storyline. Absolutely. What's with the speedrun game? It's lagging hard. Is it lagging hard? Or cause the stream to lag? Oh, okay. I can just stop it. Okay. Now, I get that it's not anything a woman would want to. Okay, let's see. So I have to go back. Fast forward to today. My wife told me she felt distant from me, and I started to feel guilty because I thought what I was doing was harmless, but she's obviously noticed a change in me. So I confessed about all of it. Oh my God. I'm not even sure what you confessed to. And I started to feel guilty because I thought what I was doing was harmless, but she's obviously noticed a change in me. So I confessed about all of it. At first, she said that I was joking, but when she realized I was serious, she accused me of cheating on her and told her mom and sisters, who are calling me a cheating weirdo. She even threatened to tell my ex so she'll know what a fucking loser I am. Yeah, that seems kind of weird for the girlfriend. Now I get that it's not anything a woman would want to hear, but it's not like I physically cheated. I don't want to lose my wife, but I don't think she can forgive me for this. Too long didn't read. I live an entirely separate life with my ex in my dreams, and now my wife wants to divorce me. I'm sorry, that's kind of retarded. But I really love her still and don't want to lose her. Do we have a chance? Let's see. Lifeless. Or cause the stream like, oh, never. No, never confess. Yeah, I wouldn't confess about stuff that's here nor there. Like, if some girl like hit on me at the store or something, and I just said something nice to her or flirted back with her, I wouldn't come home and be like, "Oh, I said something flirty to a woman at the store." Like most shit, just doesn't matter. If you overthink stuff, that's when it starts to matter. Let's see. He's answering some questions. Yeah, no, let's see. I do love my wife, which is why I married her. I just also have a feeling for my ex, which I should have been honest about before we got married. I didn't mean for this to happen, but once it did, I wasn't able to stop it. Living that life with my ex while sleeping felt like getting to experience what I missed out on in young adulthood. With that said, my wife left overnight for a hotel, and I don't know if she's coming back. I feel awful for hurting her. Yeah, I think the wife is way overreacting for stuff that you're doing in your dreams. Honestly, that's overreaction. Jacob Coldface says the subconscious mind is powerful. Indoctrination into moving from the free mind to the mind of societal servitude might have a little to do with our dream states changing in adulthood. Hold on, I'm going to read that again because I want to make sure I understand it. Indoctrination into moving from the free mind to the mind of societal servitude might have a little to do with our dream states changing in adulthood. I have a question, Jake. So I have this theory that we're all kind of on the same servers. So because we all watch the same movies and we can make a reference, our culture is becoming a universal culture. But it also makes it easy for us to just get up and talk about anything with anybody. You can start talking about, like, when you say the red pill, when you reference that, people know what you're talking about. And then from that point, you can jump off and talk about other things. Where is the Garden of Eden? Might be your internet connection. Am I still lagging? It's possible. I don't know. Let's see. I knew she'd be upset, but I felt I owed her an explanation once she communicated that she felt distant, or that I felt distance. I didn't want to gaslight her perception. I just hadn't known that she even noticed a difference in me. I just didn't think she would leave. Yeah, I wouldn't think she would leave either. I think that's an overreaction. All right. Let's move on to the next story. And again, if anybody wants to call in, go right ahead. The title pretty much says it all. I created a 1-to-1 scale puppet version of my boyfriend, okay, and showed it to him during foreplay as a joke. Now he hasn't texted me in 12 hours, and I'm starting to get worried. I haven't texted my wife in like 3 days, other than saying okay or yes, because she asked me to do something. Keep saying that the live stream has ended. Might be your internet connection. Okay. Let's see if I can fix the live stream. It says excellent connection. Stream is healthy. Seems to be okay. Yeah, same here. It drops or ends. This has a lot to do with it, I think. Let me see if I can just get a white background here. You know what I can do? I can just scale this up. And then we can close that window, because it may just be because I have 3 things open right now. All right, so I will delete this. Are you sure you wish to remove macro screen? Let's see what happens. Okay. Where is that? Okay, not yours, Jake. Okay. Your stream is coming through smooth on my end, and I'm on a high-end PC with good internet connection. People lagging, it might be their phone's memory or their internet connection. It could be, but I am going to just shut that window just in case. I also have 2 kids that like to be on YouTube all the time, so they're probably streaming right now. Holy crap. Thank you for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate it. That is awesome. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you got $20. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, so I want to go back to Jacob Cultivates. Yeah, the content we all collectively consume has a lot to do with it, I think. I often pose the question of, are our thoughts really our own, or programmed by media, movies, school, etc.? Yeah, I don't think our thoughts are our own. I do think that they are programmed. And I don't believe in like the blank slate theory, but I do believe that we all eventually kind of coalesce around the same ideas, because we have to, because we're constantly exposed to a certain type of thing. We're all going to eventually think similar in certain ways, or we're all going to interpret the same content the same way. Like, the fact of the matter is that billions of people have seen all of the Marvel movies, not all of them, but when Marvel movies were good, we've all seen those, and the same lessons and morals in those stories are now collectively shared with everyone. So arguably, that is what Christianity and other religions are, is a shared experience with society. Okay, let's go back to this puppet. Um, so this is the writer who created this. They made a 1-to-1 scale puppet version of my boyfriend. So a 1-to-1 scale would be basically the size of the person. So if the boyfriend's 6 feet, it's a 6-foot puppet. Created a 1-to-1 scale puppet version of my boyfriend, who's 22, and showed it to him during foreplay as a joke. Now he hasn't texted me in 12 hours, and I'm starting to get worried. How do I get him to text me back? Hey, that has me wondering if you can actually order, if you can send in like a picture of someone and order like a blow up doll, and then they just like print that across, right? Because you can order shirts with people's face on it, right? Blow up doll custom. I'll just do custom blow up dolls. Oh yeah, you can do it. Amazon allows it for bachelorette parties. Let's see. I want to pull this up. So top right. Let's see. Yeah, that's perfect. Personalized face blow up man doll, bachelorette party decorations, inflatable doll. So I think they just did blow up man doll just to make it less creepy. Oh wait, no. Let's see. Hey, there you go. Equality. Okay, so there's that idea. I got a blow up doll. Back when I lived in that house, the bachelor house, got a blow up doll for my birthday. They're not great. They are not great. Doesn't work. Obviously, I tried it once. Just to show my appreciation for the gift. The title pretty much says it all, but here are some more details. My boyfriend of 6 months and I have had a pretty cut and dry relationship up to this point. I've always been what some people would call quirky. You don't say. So pranks are sort of my bread and butter. John, has expressed that he really likes this part of me, and I'm just happy to be with someone who can handle all of my zest. Sometimes I worry that he doesn't actually think I'm as funny as he says, but he always reassures me that this is not the case. One of the ways we really like to express our humor to each other is in the bedroom. For example, I love to do impressions of mostly Disney characters. This could go bad. Such as the paperwork lady from Monsters, Inc. Okay. Not the direction I thought it was going. He sometimes does them too, but he's not that good at voices. So the monster lady, let's see if I can just do it. Let's see if I can remember. Mr. Lebowski, I don't even remember his name. You haven't turned in your work yet. Your paper, yeah, not even close. He sometimes does them too, but he's not that good at voices. Okay, well, I guess your boyfriend and I can relate. So here's where I think I may have taken it too far. I recently bought a sewing machine to try and make cosplay costumes and stuff, but something dawned on me as I was messing around with it. This was the plan. We oftentimes, sexy times, with a habitual back rub massage sort of thing, and we switch off. And then we progress into French kissing, and then full blown, you know what? Did I miss something? We oftentimes, sexy times, with a habitual back rub massage sort of thing. I am curious, has anyone actually been able to give their woman a massage and not have sex with them after? Is that even possible? And we switch off. And then we progress into French kissing and then full blown, you know what? One very important fact to tell you is that John does in fact wear glasses. So I will usually make a point to take them off and put them on the table for safety. During this particular romp in the hay, I got really funny idea about how to take his glasses off next time, and I couldn't stop laughing. He asked me what I was laughing at because he has some insecurity about his appearance, but I assured him that it was nothing like that. We had our fun and John went home, but all I could think about was this plan. So the next day I went to the fabric store. I have not read these stories, by the way. So I'm learning, I'm reading this as you are. So the next day I went to the fabric store and bought a bunch of skin colored felt and wire framing and cotton and got to work creating a Muppet style version of my boyfriend to put his glasses on next time we started getting dirty style. Honestly, the thing was looking pretty good. I even found some clothes at Goodwill that were his style. I dressed the puppet in the clothes, hid them under my collection. I would have actually taken his clothes and put his clothes on the puppet. I dressed the puppet in the clothes, hid them under my collection of Squishmallows that's in my room, and invited him over. I don't understand the Squishmallow thing. Like, I've resold so many Squishmallows, and I don't understand why they're so popular. To spare you all the explicit details, we did start kissing and taking clothes off and stuff, but my hands were shaking as I reached up to grab his glasses. Instead of putting it on my nightstand, I made a point to say something like, I'm just going to put these right here. As I stretched over to the Squishmallow that was covering the puppet boyfriend's head and put the glasses right over his felt eyes, he got confused, I think, and looked back to where I put the glasses and sat up. As a felt version of his face, very easily identifiable, by the way, John has red hair and a mustache, so the glasses on top left little question of who this could be. He was silent for a second and then said, "Is that supposed to be me?" As I was laughing, I said something like, "Do you like it?" As I took it out of the Squishmallow pile and revealed the entirety of Muppet John. This is awesome. I think this would be pretty awesome. If somebody went to all that work to make a puppet version of me, I would think that's cool. He says, "Oh, did you make that?" he asked, and I stood it up off the bed and asked him to stand next to it. "See, it's just like you, basically," I said, but he still wasn't laughing that much. I think he saw that the Muppet ended up being just a little bit taller than him. Oh my God. Oh, there's no way. Okay. The Muppet ended up accidentally being a little bit taller than him, around 6'1", based on seeing them side by side. I noticed his disappointment and did a tried and true Disney impression to make him feel better. In my best Goofy impression, I said, "Well, looks like we should call him Big John Hyuk." Okay, so Goofy Hyuk. John took his glasses off of Big John and let him fall to the floor and put the glasses on the nightstand and sat on the bed for a while. But we eventually went to Sin City, but it was a lot more quiet than usual. He left after that, even though we were planning on having a sleepover. He said he wasn't feeling good. I texted him good night and went to bed. So here's the ish. This morning, I haven't gotten any good morning text or any text at all from him, even though he always sends me a good morning text. I'm worried that Big John was a step too far and that normal John didn't think the joke was as funny as I did. I feel like he's just putting me in an uncomfortable position, but not telling me how this made him really feel, even though I thought it was pretty funny. Is this salvageable or am I effed? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I wouldn't even worry about it at all. I think it's pretty cool. So, my fiance's best man confessed he's in love with me during our engagement photo shoot. Okay, here we go. Oh, the person's name is Jake, too. I am a 27-year-old female. I'm getting married to Jake, who is 29 years old. We've been together 5 years. His best friend, Leo, 30, has always been kind of flirty with me, but I chalked it up to personality. He's charming, charismatic. Everyone loves him. Jake invited him to join our engagement shoot to get some fun group pictures. He's basically family. Midway through the shoot, the photographer took a break and I walked to the car to grab touch-up makeup. Leo followed me. That's when he told me calmly, clearly, that he's been in love with me since the day we met. Who does that shit? Like, Jake invited him to join our engagement shoot. That's when he told me calmly, clearly, that he's been in love with me since the day we met. And he's just wanted me to know in case I felt the same. Yeah, don't do that shit. I was stunned. I said something like, "You can't say this right now." He said, "If you're sure you love him, forget I said anything." We returned like nothing had happened, and I haven't told Jake yet. I don't even know how. But now every time I look at those photos, all I can think about is that moment. Do I tell my fiance or pretend it didn't happen like Leo asked? I don't know. I would pretend it didn't happen. Honestly, I would pretend it doesn't happen and hope that Leo finds somebody else and falls in love with somebody else. And you can just forget that ever even happened. Unless Leo is Jake's best friend, because then they're not going to be able to hang out anymore. Let's see. We've been together. His best friend, Leo. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, you're going to have to tell him. You're going to have to tell him. Because the assumption is that Jake and you are going to be hanging out, going to barbecues, going to movies. I mean, unless you live in different states, Leo's going to be around. So yeah. Yeah, Jacob Cultivates says you should definitely tell him. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that. Leo is not really his friend if he's willing to stab him in the back in that manner. I agree. I agree. You shouldn't have waited that long. That's the thing. If you had feelings for her, you should have told her when she first started dating Jake. So, big mistake. Lisa says, "No, don't tell Jake." Interesting. Lisa, why do you think that she shouldn't tell Jake? Of course, the woman in the chat says, "Don't tell." No, I'm actually curious. There could be a reason. Or maybe she's had that. I mean, the problem is that it's his best friend. And if it's anything like my best friend, we hang out every week. So Lisa just laughs. Okay. My boyfriend kept asking me to moan louder. Turns out he was recording me. Oh boy, here we go. This still doesn't feel right. I am a 25-year-old female, and I have been dating a 27-year-old male for a year. Things were good. We had amazing chemistry, and he made me feel sexy until recently. At least I wouldn't bother with it. He kept asking me to moan louder during sex. At first, I didn't think much of it. Some people are just into that. But it got to the point where it felt forced, like I was performing and not enjoying it. I told him it made me self-conscious. He said it was just a turn on and dropped it. Do you live in an apartment complex? If you live in an apartment complex, I get it. Or so I thought. Last week, I used his laptop to log into my email because mine was glitching. He'd left a folder open by accident. It was full of audio files, literally labeled by date. When I clicked one, it was me moaning, saying his name. Our sex recorded without my consent. Yeah, but it was an audio file. Interesting. I confronted him immediately. He didn't even deny it, just said it wasn't that serious and that he only used the mic and not a camera. Like that made it better. He also admitted, well, yeah, obviously he's just listening to it while he masturbates. He also admitted he shared a few clips with his. Oh, you idiot! Oh man, yeah. Why would you admit to that? I mean, why would you do that to begin with? But then why would you admit to it? Okay. He admitted he shared a few clips with his friends in a group chat as a joke. I dumped him on the spot, blocked him, filed a report. His friends tried texting me to chill out and that he's going through it. Good, I hope he rots. I feel violated in a way I can't even describe. Lisa says, if Leo continued, then I would tell Jake. Um, sheesh. Let's see. Jacob Cultivate says, no, it's a false friend, and society living in falsity and keeping secrets, not being real with one another, is what has led to the destruction of the fabric of families in society. Question your beliefs. Lisa says, it's just my opinion. Leo waited for his moment to tell her in hopes that she would be a snake like him. It's not a one time thing, it's a manifestation of his true character, which is not to be trusted. He's not a friend. Lisa, I'm not going nuts over it. Lisa, you comment the same way I comment with like people in my Facebook message groups when they're freaking out about something. It's funny. It's like I wrote that sentence myself. I, a 24-year-old female, dated a 26-year-old male for almost 2 years. He was my first serious boyfriend after coming out as bi, and I thought he respected that about me. He even joked about how hot it was sometimes, which, okay, red flag in hindsight. Is that a red flag? I don't know if that's a red flag. I mean, is that a red flag? I, a 25-year-old female, dated a cisgender 26-year-old male for almost 2 years. He was my first serious boyfriend after coming out as bi, and I thought he respected that about me. He even joked about how hot it was sometimes, which, okay, that's a red flag in hindsight. Am I missing something? I don't see how that's a red flag to think that that's hot. A few weeks ago, his group of friends hosted a poker night. I was supposed to go, but had a terrible migraine and stayed home. He left his iPad on the couch, and a Discord notification popped up. I didn't go snooping. I just saw my name in preview and opened it. I found entire chats of him talking about me like I was some experimental phase. Yeah. You know, it's funny. My wife, when she was dating me, she thought it was just an experimental phase. She thought it was just, I was going to be like a thing that she did for 3 months. We're like 17 years in now, 2 kids. She was just my lesbian detour. We all have one, right? I thought she was bi, though. Honestly, surprised she stayed this long. Bi girls always go back to girls. That is not true. That is not even close to true. Bi girls, this dude's an idiot if he thinks that. It's usually the other way around. Honestly, surprised she stayed this long. Bi girls always go back to girls. Maybe just that bi girls he's been with, and that's probably his fault. Low key, I thought she'd try to turn me into a gay best friend. Yeah, this guy is an idiot. It got worse. Screenshots of our texts, private photos, jokes about how I trick straight guys into dating women in disguise. What? This is confusing. I was sick. I confronted him, and he had the audacity to say, it's just guy banter. I didn't mean any of it. Just locker room talk. I dumped him instantly. He tried crying, then rage, then begged me to keep it between us because his friends don't respect him when he's soft. So now I'm a causality of his ego. He's still texting me like nothing happened. You overreacted. No one's perfect, he says. You're the only person who ever got me. No, I just saw all of you and I'm never forgetting it. Yeah, that dude's an idiot. You should have left him a long time ago. He's not even making sense. My boyfriend used a hidden camera to prove I was faking my period pain. I am a 25-year-old female, have PCOS, and get brutal, irregular periods. Polycystic ovary syndrome is a hormonal disorder common among women of reproductive age. It's characterized by irregular menstrual cycles, excess estrogen, the male hormone levels, and or polycystic ovaries, PCOS can lead to various health issues, including infertility, weight gain, and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Okay. I have irregular periods. My boyfriend, who's 28 and male, has always been weird about it. He acts like I'm exaggerating when I can't get out of bed or when I cancel plans because I'm curled up in pain. Last month, he told me he thought I was being dramatic. He even said he read online that women milk it for attention. Cue me being furious. But this month, it got worse. He confessed while laughing that he set up a small motion activated camera in our living room to prove I was moving around fine when I said I was too sick to meet his family for dinner. Yeah, cameras in the house. I think cameras in the house are weird. It's like if you're against Big Brother, don't be Big Brother. When I confronted him, he said he deleted the footage. I don't believe him and said I was violating his trust by overreacting. I mean, the only place you would want to have a camera is like your kid's bedroom when they're sleeping, when they're young, like when they're toddlers. I packed a bag and left that night. Guess who's not single and filing a report? Someone says, good, this is only the beginning of the things he will do to attempt to control you. No matter what good trait he has, let someone else deal with him. There are good men out there. Yeah, you can't film adults. You can't film adults. It's like my wife knows my phone passcode because I'm not too worried about it. If I was, then there'd be a problem. Girl accidentally humiliated me in front of her friends. This is one of those moments that hits you straight in the gut and makes you cringe for years. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were hanging out after I got out of the shower. I was freezing in the apartment, and I made a comment about how cold I was. Jacob says it's one of two things. Either he's insensitive and not perceptive enough to see that she's really in pain, or she's lying and he was able to accurately spot the lie. Yeah, she could be over-exaggerating. But the way I feel is if I don't trust somebody enough that I'm going to start recording them, then why am I with that person? Like if I think people are going to just be lying to me. Lisa, out of curiosity, why would some young men be interested in older women? I thought that all men only want younger women. It's a maturity thing. When I was in my early 20s, I was into older women just because the women that were my age, I thought were kind of immature. And I just didn't relate to them very much. I'm kind of I think of myself as like an old soul in that way. So I would go to the party. When I went to parties with older women or just older people in general, I would tend to get along with them. And it could have been me just being judgmental on my part. Jacob says it's one of two things. Either he's insensitive and not perceptive. Okay, he did that. Jacob Cultivates says, actually, we can, depending on local jurisdictions, and sometimes it's necessary to film people when they are obviously lying and toxic because it's the only way to hold those types accountable. Yeah, but I see what you're saying, Jacob, but in my mind, I just don't want to be with somebody that I feel like I need to film. Unless there's a situation where there's a divorce coming up and you want to make sure you don't get raked over the coals, and you want to record your spouse cheating, that would make sense. Jacob, Lisa, some men prefer older women. I'm one of those men because I like maturity. Yeah, that's kind of what mine was about. Can it be for other reasons other than maturity? Yeah, it can be for other reasons. It could be because they're more established. Like my wife at the time, when we first started dating, she had a house. And so, all the girls my age were in college and they didn't really have any assets. So there's other the same things that women look for in men can find in women. And so it's maturity, it's security. It's all there. So I agree with that, Jake. Yes, if the person is questionable, we just shouldn't be with them. Yeah. Jacob says, I've had neighbors committing crimes against me and getting away with it. Yeah, neighbors is one thing for sure. I just mean like family and the people you live with. They've stopped now that I installed security surveillance 100% and call police with proof. So sometimes it's very necessary. Yeah, I have a bunch of commercial business vehicles that I would, have cameras in to watch the roads in front because people will try and commit insurance fraud against you if you're not filming. Let's see. Girlfriend accidentally humiliated me in front of her friends. This is one of those moments that hits you straight in the gut and makes you cringe for years. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were hanging out after I got out of the shower. It was freezing in the apartment, and I made a comment about how cold I was. She glanced down, laughed, and said, "Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe how small it can get." I looked too, and yeah, it honestly did look ridiculous. I'm not the biggest down there, anyways, but most of all, I'm a grower. Um, yeah. Jacob says, "Yeah, I agree, bro. We shouldn't have to record anyone in our home. If we feel the need for that, they shouldn't be in our home." Exactly. Lifeless. Wow, YouTube Live is wild. I was scrolling through it right now. Yeah, YouTube Live. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were hanging out after I got out of the shower. It was freezing in the apartment, and I made a comment about how cold I was. She glanced down, laughed, and said, "Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe how small it can get." I looked too, and yeah, it honestly did look ridiculous. I'm not the biggest down there, anyways, but most of all, I'm a grower. If you don't know what that looks like in extreme cases, just imagine an acorn sitting on top of your balls, barely over an inch. Sorry to be graphic, but you need to know how embarrassing this looked. Oh man, got me needing to adjust. All right, hold on. I got briefs that are a size too small, or I'm just getting fat. It could be one of the two. After laughing a bit at the situation, she laughed. She asked if she could take a picture. Are they married or are they just together? Hold on. Girlfriend accidentally humiliated me. Okay. After laughing a bit at the situation, she asked if she could take a picture. We both have secret photo vault apps where we keep each other's nudes, so I was fine with it as long as we followed our usual routine. Move the photo into the vault immediately, delete it from the main camera roll, then clear it from recently deleted. Wait a minute, there's a recently deleted? Oh shit. Okay. Just gonna check into that after. Put a note there. Recently deleted folder. Look into. Okay. Just had a mini panic attack. Okay. After laughing a bit at the situation, she asked if she could take a picture. We both have a secret photo vault. Okay, now next paragraph. She took a couple of pictures from different angles and lighting. Oh, shit. That's funny. Giggling at the absurdity. I know this might sound immature, but we do have an immature sense of humor and just thought it was a silly moment. This is something my wife and I would do. After that, I specifically remember saying, "All right, seriously, delete those now." I watched her go through all the necessary steps of moving and deleting all the pictures and was sure that would be the end of all of it. A few days later, here we go. We went on a weekend trip to Traverse City. We visited wineries, we went on hikes, and took a charter out on a boat into Lake Michigan. It was a great trip, and we had a bunch of pictures from it. The weekend after we got back, she had two of her friends over and was showing them photos from the weekend. At one point, my girlfriend handed them the phone to keep scrolling through pictures as she went to grab a drink from the fridge. I was sitting across the room as I watched the two girls sitting next to each other on the couch, scrolling through pictures one by one. The next moment will probably be burned into my memory forever. One more swipe, and I saw both girls' eyes widen. They looked at each other for a moment, then put their hands to their mouths as they started laughing super hard. I was a bit confused at first until their eyes met mine. Oh, shit. Did you wink? And my heart dropped. My girlfriend was just walking up behind them and quickly said, "Wait, give me that," and snatched the phone out of their hands, and her face went pale. Oh my God. I thought I deleted that, she muttered as she was tapping at her screen, now actually deleting it. Okay. How do you know it was your wiener? Could have been anybody's wiener. Dang, that's cold. No pun intended. Yeah, heck yeah, that's cold. She was making fun of him wanting to film his micro pecker. Hopefully, he's not with her anymore. Um, Barry recently deleted. Yeah, dang, he actually let her take the pics. Wow, poor fellow. Oh crap. Oh no, that sucks. Dang. Yeah. Okay. So my girlfriend sat down. Okay, one of them said, "I'm sorry, we didn't mean to see that." And the other added, "We just kept scrolling and we didn't know." But I could tell they were still holding back the laughter. Glancing at each other, I just sat there completely frozen. My face felt red hot. See, I don't understand why he's feeling this way yet. It hasn't been confirmed that that's what they saw. My girlfriend sat down next to me, clearly upset, before either of us could say anything. I mean, what is she going to say? No, that wasn't your micro penis. That was actually my my I almost, what is it? A side dude? I almost said side chick. That's my side dick. My girlfriend sat down next to me, clearly upset, before either of us could say anything. One of her friends awkwardly changed the subject. I don't even remember what they said exactly, but something about the trip which elevated the tension just enough until I ended up grabbing a beer and heading to our bedroom until they left. I mean, they don't really know how small the penis is as long as they didn't have anything in the picture for scale, right? Unless you were holding up a dime in the photo, for all they know, you just have a giant ball sack. Um, your ball sack could be the size of a watermelon for all they know. I wrapped my arm around her and I pulled her in and told her it was okay. She cried for a few moments while I told her it wasn't a big deal and I'd be fine. I decided to just man up. I don't know why that's funny. Push through the embarrassment. Okay, here's how you can fix this problem. Say, I will forgive you as long as you show them my boner. That's really all you can say. I mean, that's the one time where you can request for your girl to show her friends your boner, and you should be able to get away with it. Now, you said you guys are kind of like that. You're kind of jokey, but that would be my response. I said, right now, there's only one thing you can do, honey. But at the end of the day, I love her, and now she didn't mean for this to happen. I know she didn't mean for this to happen. I wrapped my arm around her, pulled her in, told her it was okay. She she cried for a few minutes while I told her it wasn't a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's a tiny deal, and that I would be fine. I decided to just man up and push through the embarrassment. What else can I do? Only thing I can hope is that image doesn't stay burned in their memory whenever I see them in the future. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You've got to prove to them that you are a grower. In full transparency, I originally shared this on a smaller male-centered subreddit a few days ago. My girlfriend follows this podcast and wanted to get some feedback. Never trust anyone with nudes. Yeah, never trust anyone with nudes. It's crazy. People who send dick pics. Like, what are you doing? It was clearly an accident, but I'd only allow her to take nudes of you on your own phone. You're valid in being upset, but she's probably embarrassed as well, right? If she doesn't make a habit of embarrassing you, best to just move on and learn from it for the future. Yeah, it's not like it was her fault. I mean, you said you saw her delete it. All right, what are the comments? Barry says recently deleted. Yeah, I didn't know there was a recently deleted folder. He let her take the pics. Wow, poor fellow. Crap. She was lying her ass off. She knew she didn't delete it and was just trying to save face in that moment. Jacob says, I'd say he's feeling that way because of a bunch of narcissistic women making fun of him. Probably. I mean, that's the thing. How do they, like, if she and him didn't respond the way they did, unless he's got like a tattoo down there or something that's identifiable, How would they even know? Probably a probably a decent dude, and that woman made a dog and pony show out of him. That woman is terrible, in my opinion. Jacob says he simped out hard. He didn't man up by supporting her terrible behavior towards him. Um, time, Lifeless says, time to harden up is what he should have said. Yeah. Then leave her and be done with that terrible woman. Hugging her during her fake tears. Yeah, I don't know why she was crying. That seems weird. He's very confused. You are not helping, man. It's a tiny deal. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, women know that there are men who are growers. It's not like a new concept. And if you're not planning on hooking up with those women anyways, why does it matter? My MIL has lied to us for 2+ years about seeing the man that threatened to kill my husband. My 25-year-old husband, Adam. Sorry, my 28-year-old husband, Adam. This is a woman. And I have been married for 2.5 years now and have an amazing relationship. We are strong communicators, and while there's not much we disagree on, when we do disagree, we always speak to each other respectfully and do our best to understand the other's perspective. Sorry, just checking the call log here. All right. We always speak to each other respectfully and do our best to understand the other's perspective. Now for some background. My husband and his mom, who is 55, have had a strained relationship for over 10 years at this point. His parents divorced when he was pretty young, and June picked some less than stellar partners since then. The worst was Jerry. From what I understand, Jerry was very abusive towards June physically. Hold on here. I'm totally lost. My husband and his mom, June's 55. Adam is the husband. Have had a strained relationship for over 10 years at this point. His parents divorced when he was pretty young, and June picked some less than stellar partners since then. So his mom. The worst was Jerry. From what I understand, Jerry, so this is his mom's boyfriend. Jerry was very abusive towards June physically, mentally, and verbally. Isn't mentally and verbally kind of in the same category? He pushed her to drink in excess. Jerry convinced June to move her family from the Midwest to Texas. Okay, Jerry convinced June to move her family from the Midwest to Texas and finally to Oregon before things hit their breaking point. Adam, who's 16 at this point, so her husband, his mom, Jerry, and 3 other family members were living in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and the abuse was peaking when Jerry told June that if Adam came to the apartment after school or work or something, he would kill him. That seems perfectly reasonable. With no other family in the area, Adam became homeless in Oregon for a few weeks until he was able to get in contact with grandparents who got him a ticket back home to the Midwest. From there, he went on to get his GED and live with his grandparents for a few years before moving out and working and eventually meeting me. This is one thing I talked about in the last live stream with someone who'd called in, an older gentleman who was in like his late 50s. And he was talking about how the younger generation needs to just take care of himself. Very like pull yourself up by your own bootstraps type of individual. And I had explained to him that the housing costs are significantly different compared to income that they were back when he was in his early 20s. And that having, like, when I got my own place, I moved in with my brother, like I talked about earlier, and we were able to get a place together. But kids nowadays, there's so many, like the size of families are so small. I have 8 siblings. I've helped all of them, and they've all helped me. So if you don't have anybody to lean on, anybody to help you in a time of crisis, things are going to get bad. Adam told June that they would not have contact as long as she was still in communication with Jerry. Adam told June. Okay, so Jerry's the boyfriend. Adam told June they would not have contact as long as she was still in communication with Jerry. Over the years, she left and returned to Jerry multiple times. Understandable, as abusive relationships are hard to leave. I don't know if that's true. I think most abusive relationships are probably the easiest to leave. The hardest relationships are the good relationships. But Adams always held his boundary firm. Shortly after we met, June had moved back to the Midwest to live with her parents and get her life back together and quit drinking after leaving him for what we thought would be the final time. This background better be important here. I encouraged Adam to rebuild his relationship with his mom, especially after we found out we were pregnant with our son. They were calling / messaging more often, and June had somewhat of a place in our life. It was never great, but I was also actively messaging and sharing our life with her. So she followed you on Facebook. You're having a kid, and now you think it's important for your kid to have a grandparent. Okay. A few days ago, we received a message in his family group chat. God, I love family group chats. That they wanted to start moving the grandparents to their new house this weekend. We said we had to work as well as some other family members, and Adam's aunt followed up with a message along the lines of, I guess June and Jerry are going to have to help. It's almost over, guys. This is like crazy background. Followed by June and who? From Adam, and then complete silence for a few minutes. Adam's sister then revealed that June had never really stopped seeing Jerry, and that they had been living together since June moved out from the grandparents' house. To say we were livid is an understatement. Adam wants to go no contact again, not for seeing Jerry the whole time, but for lying about it and for so long, presumably to have a relationship with our son. I'm 100% on board, but we still have to figure out what to do regarding holidays. I don't know. Didn't Jerry threaten to kill you next time he saw you? I mean, obviously he's a piece of shit, but I would like to know what your boyfriend Adam was up to that Jerry wanted to kill him. June hadn't seen the group chat by the time Adam and I made our decision, and while I wanted to immediately call and or message her, he wanted to give her a chance to see it and reach out, which she has not done yet either. No contact is given, and at this point, non-negotiable for the time being. But how should we go about it? Does Jerry still want to kill Adam or not? That's the big thing that matters. What else should we do? Are we the assholes for depriving our son and our future children from a relationship with one of his grandmothers? How good is your grandmother? I mean, maybe your grandmother's enough. And is his mom still drinking? Did I miss that? From a relationship with one of his grandmothers? I don't know. I would try and talk to Jerry. Maybe it hasn't been long enough though. They're saying it's only been 1 year. Yeah. From a relationship. I wouldn't worry about it. The kid's going to be, it's not like once the kid comes out, like suddenly a relationship has to be established. I don't remember anything before the age of 5. I have zero memory of anything before the age of 5. So you've got time. I mean, that was just way too much information. That could have been like a paragraph long. Okay. Am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress? My husband's mistress's husband. Am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress's husband? There better be an interesting backstory here. My husband, 29, let's call him Adam. Holy shit. Is this the same Adam? And I have been married for 4 years. 2 years ago, I found a text message exchange between him and a coworker. 2 years ago. Okay, let's call her Hannah. that were going on for months. Okay, that okay. I found a text message exchange between him and a coworker, let's call her Hannah, that were going on for months behind my back. Yeah. The only time I've ever communicated with exes, but it's a coworker. Between him and a coworker, let's call her Hannah. At the time, they weren't incredibly incriminating. It clearly showed a mutual friendship that could be progressing to more. I expressed my discomfort to Adam, not for the friendship, but for keeping it a secret. If it didn't mean anything, why wouldn't he tell me? Yeah, I communicate with old coworkers that are women. We have, like, we're friends, but my wife is friends with all of them, and they all chat, they all talk, and there's no secret about it. My wife's read through our messages. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal at all. He assured me that the only reason he didn't tell me was because he knew I'd react like that. If your wife is going to react that way, or girlfriend is going to react that way, then don't do that. He said she was married. Let's call her husband Joe. No, let's not call him Joe. Chat, let's call him something else. And then they were just work friends. Okay, I asked that he limit his contact with her and be more open with me. They continued to be friends. Periodically, I would remind Adam that I was uncomfortable with their friendship when she would keep popping up in all of his stories from work. This dude works at a restaurant. I am convinced this guy works at a restaurant. Let's go back to the age. 29. He's the manager at a restaurant. And he doesn't, I don't know the worker's age, the girl's age. I asked that he limit his contact with her and be more open with me. They continued to be friends. Periodically, I would remind Adam that I was uncomfortable with their friendship when she would keep popping up in all of his stories from work, but he would brush it off and assure me that I was overreacting. Well, 3 months ago, I came home from work and he told me that he had feelings for her. Oh, how am I not surprised? Not a big shocker, and don't worry, I've already filed for divorce. He said Hannah was separating from her husband, Joe, and she made a couple of comments to him that made him feel uncomfortable, but then made him question their connection as well. Comments like, "Do you think we're too close? I wish I met you before I met my husband." Ooh. Guys, the only time I've ever been to in a situation like to a strip club is when my wife has told me to, like to go to a bachelor party or something. Like, you can't be that dumb. Like, you should have caught on way early on with this girl that this was going to be a problem and just cut things off. I've always found you attractive, etc. Why are people so stupid? He realized he cared for her, but he wanted to tell his wife because he did not. Sorry, I'm reading ahead just a tiny bit to make sure I don't say this wrong. He realized he cared for her, but he wanted to tell his wife because he did not like keeping it from me. Adam assured me they were never physical, and he sobbed about how I deserved better. Of course, he wanted to be with me, yada yada. I naively said I'd work on it, and that lasted all of 3 weeks. Within the second week, Adam had a full breakdown questioning what it all meant. I wrote Hannah a letter, which I had Adam give to her. I had no other way of reaching her, expressing that I am a real person that both of them have hurt. I said, I've contemplated telling her husband, but I held myself back because I did not know if that would put her in harm's way. Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Chat, what would you do in that situation? Um,
Despite being legal for recreation, talking about weed, what the governments don't know won't hurt you. It's always for personal use, for medical purposes. Husband's mistress's husband. Yeah, I know. Damn, a whole new level of degeneracy. Right. That's right. And it's legal to gift and it's legal to accept donations. Yeah. Okay. All right. Some time went by and I found that he was still talking with her. He said he did not want to stop talking to her. I said I think he should leave for the weekend. He went to his parents' house over the weekend, and there was severe weather at our house. Picture me locked in a laundry room with 2 dogs and 2 cats. Of course, Adam and I were texting. He was watching the weather and hoped we were safe. He comes back home the next morning before work. While he was outside with the dogs, I checked his phone. Yes, I know that was bad. I found that the prior night he was also texting Hannah. Their conversation included her saying he was so cute and asking about how they would do for their first date. Wait. He comes back home the next morning before work. While he was outside with the dogs, I checked his phone. Yes, I know that was bad. I found that the prior night he was also texting Hannah. Their conversation included her saying he was so cute. Oh my God. And asking about what they would do for their first date. The relationship's over. Yeah, it's over. It doesn't even matter. Just leave him. It's all over. He responded with a couple of suggestions for activities they could do. She loved it, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm divorcing already. When I found the messages, my heart sank. He came back in from outside and I told him that I wanted a divorce. Oh, okay. So he didn't know she was divorcing him. I told him what I saw and that he has lost all decision making power in our relationship. It was up to me now. Here's where I'm not sure if I'm the asshole. I don't see how you're the asshole yet. Let's find out. I went to work and got started on handcrafting a few messages. I sent his parents a text informing him of what he was doing under their roof. He lives with his parents? What? My husband of 29 and I am 30. I went to work and got started on handcrafting messages. I sent his parents a text informing him of what he was doing under their roof. That sentence doesn't even make sense. I sent his parents a text informing him of what I think she means informing them of what he was doing under their roof. I sent his brother a message that said Adam might need a place to stay. I sent Joe an email informing him of their emotional affair with as many specifics as I could remember about her specific comments. And I told him that if I found out any harm came to Hannah as a result of my message, I would personally report him. I then sent Hannah a long email that acknowledged my pain. Acknowledged her pain? Informed her that up until this morning, Adam was still telling me he would do couples counseling, which was leading her on. That I reached out to her husband. I copied and pasted my message to him in my email to her, and that I did not want to hear from her. I mean, I would kind of want to hear from her just out of curiosity. He went to his parents for the weekend. What he did for the weekend. Oh, okay. Sorry. He comes back home the next morning before work when he was outside with the dogs, actually. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I was a little lost there. Adam finally freaked out. He said I was compromising people's jobs. I emailed Hannah on her work email, but like she was doing what she was doing at work, So why is she ashamed when it's written down? I'm blowing up everything. How could I? Etc. I got a call from his mom berating me, saying that if any harm came to her son, it would be on me. What? What? She said I would have to live with myself. I simply apologized for upsetting her and blocked her number. Mom's a bitch. The way I'm telling you, I didn't even raise my voice. Okay. I felt like telling him I would report him. I felt like telling him I would report him would deter any potential harm. I also thought that including what I sent to him in my message to her was a courtesy to prepare her for anything he might do. Um, I am I also am finding it hard to take the responsibility of a potential violent act that I verbally discouraged and warned her about. I also warned them both that I was considering telling Joe, not because I wanted to punish them, but just because he had a right to know. Yeah, I agree. And is Joe like some roided out psycho? Like, why are they all just assuming that he's gonna get violent? Three of the four people in the situation were well aware of the inappropriate conduct, and Joe was just hanging out, hoping for a reconciliation. I'm finding it tough to believe that Adam's mom. I'm finding it tough to believe what Adam's mom said, but am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress's husband? No. Yeah, I don't think so. Top comment says your husband, the mistress, and your husband and the mistress are the assholes here. He deserves to know that he's being cheated on. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Some stuff you just read and you gotta, you can never know the dynamics in these situations. But I mean, she didn't really even know the girl that he worked with, not that well. I mean, I guess he did, but she didn't. I didn't think that she would know her husband either. So I don't know why you just wouldn't treat it like a generic, your wife is cheating on you with my husband. Here's what you need to know. Hey, Brian, how's it going? Um, all right, let's check the comments here. All right, are we still talking about the cannabis business? Yep. Let's see. Hey, bro, I just tried calling in and it said Google subscriber was not available. That could be a problem. It says I have a missed call, 9:35. I've had 3 missed calls. I wonder why. Oh, I bet it's a setting on my computer. Sure, default mic. All right, hold on. Let me. All right, is yours the 1609 number? Jacob? Yeah, that's weird. Your browser might prevent calls from ringing. Change your browser settings to allow voice talk Google to play sound. I thought I did that though yesterday. 315 number. Yeah. I'll call you right now.
Hello,
Hey, Jacob, is that you?
this is me. Jacob Cultivates.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Am I coming through clear?
Let's ask the chat. Chat, can you hear Jacob pretty well? I can hear you. Well, let's just make sure that they can hear you on the chat. I'm not sure why it didn't ring, because it was working perfectly fine before. But yeah, it says I've got 3 missed calls. Let's see.
I don't know. Well, hey, brother, I'm really appreciating your show. I'm enjoying it, and I figured I'd give a call in to talk about my worst dating experience.
Okay, perfect. Brian Lewis says sounds good. All right, Jacob. What? How old are you? Let's give us some background.
I'm 39 years old,
Okay,
and
perfect.
my worst dating experience was actually my last dating experience, which was 2.5 years ago, is when it ended.
Okay. How long were you with her?
I was with her for a year.
Okay. What happened?
So basically, I had moved into a new apartment, and there was a little convenience grocery store across the street from where I had just moved in. And I spotted this woman. She was 5'10", and I'm 5'8", so a bit
Okay.
taller than me, but very attractive, like an Amazonian-looking Puerto Rican woman with a very thick accent. And I was just like lustfully in love with this woman immediately. And I would say that I would identify myself as a simp during this time. And this was the relationship that pretty much made me grow up and learn what to really look out for with women. So I spotted her, and it was just a couple days before I worked up the courage to slip her my phone number. And she ended up calling me back within a couple days, and we went straight into it.
Hold on. Back up a
We
little bit. You said you'd met her at the grocery store?
Yeah, she worked at a local convenience grocery store
Oh,
right
okay.
across the street from where I had just moved in.
So you had seen her multiple times before getting her number?
Yeah, I saw her a few times. I had gone
Okay.
in and bought a few things. She was a cashier working there.
Right. Okay, so it wasn't just like
So
somebody
after
in line in front of you checking out.
no,
Okay.
she worked there. So uh, I slipped her my phone number. She ended up calling me, and we jumped in real fast. It was a very lust-filled relationship, and she she was a woman who she wore a lot of makeup, and she had a lot of malattention at her job. And I really didn't like this right off the bat. I kind of felt like that was going to stop once she was in a relationship. But this was me being naive, of course. And it turned
Right.
out that
She about the same age
I
as
was
you?
seeing her she was 42, and I was, what, 36 at the time. So she was a little bit older
Right.
than me.
Does she have kids?
And yeah, she had 2 daughters and a son. Her kids were all 18 to 22. They were all pretty much adults,
Okay.
young adults.
Yeah, perfect.
So her behavior, I was witnessing it because she worked right across the street. There was a lot of flirtation with men right outside of her job. I would see it through my windows, and I would confront her about it, and she would just deny, and pretty much degrade me and flip it around on me and saying I was being possessive, and that I'm smothering her and not allowing her to be social at work. And this is when I started saying, well, you overly sexualize yourself with a lot of makeup, and it seems rather apparent that you are flirting with these men. I can tell by the body language. And about 6 months through the relationship,
Did
because
she
I
have a
just
nice
kept
booty?
putting up with it. Oh, she had a very nice body through and through.
Yeah.
Very attractive woman.
And wore like skin tight
And it
pants?
was, yeah, skin tight pants. And She painted on her eyebrows like very um, like check marks almost, and wore bright red lipstick. So super sexualized. And this ended up causing me to essentially lose my mind halfway through the relationship. At about six
Yeah,
months, I ended up really losing it, man. And I went
I hear
to
you.
a psych ward and everything. I thought I was losing my mind. I was starting to question my own reality and whether or not I was delusional because she was just pushing forth lie after lie.
Right.
And but I wasn't seeing it at the time. And I still stayed with her after this. And for a little context too, part of what was driving me crazy was the fact that she would pull this fake breakup shit with me every couple of
Oh
days.
my
Literally,
God.
she and then come back a couple days later,
Yeah.
saying, "I'll never leave you. I love you. I didn't mean it. I wasn't breaking up with you." And I just kept on putting up with it, taking
Yeah.
her back.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
had friends in high school that had a good friend of mine. There was a girl that kept doing that to him. And I just kept telling him, I'm like, you are completely wasting your time with this girl. You have like one chance to get back with
yeah.
somebody. If you like break something off and you decide that was a mistake, you want to get back with them, one chance. If they do it again, it's done. If the second time they break up with you, no chance. Because now they're establishing a pattern. So that's
Absolutely.
crazy. Yeah, and
Yeah. And
for all you know, she broke off with you because there was a guy she was liking, and then within those 3 or 4 days when you were breaking up, the guy that she was thought she was going to get with ends up breaking things off her, and that doesn't work out, and then she uses you as the backup. Oh, maybe I'll go back.
that's exactly what I
Yep.
deduce because she displayed a huge lack of trust with me. She was always accusing me of cheating. She wanted to go through my cell phone, and I would hand her my cell phone
Uh huh.
and tell her I want to see hers. And sometimes she would hand me hers, and ironically, I would be finding text messages that were very questionable with men, and of course, she would deny it. And it was about 10 months into the relationship that I was starting to see it for what it was, and I realized that I was just submitting and tolerating it. And ultimately, the straw that broke the camel's back, what really caused me to break it off with her and be done with it, was she actually stole my cat. She was
Holy
jealous of the
shit.
connection that I had with my cat, and I didn't know right away that she stole the cat. It really appeared that my cat just came up missing because he was an outdoor cat. But while she was at her granddaughter's house, I heard her granddaughter in the background asking where the cat was. So this was how I figured it out that she had literally stole my cat. And that's when I said, okay, enough is enough. And this snapped me to reality. I really learned a lot from the experience, and I learned what to look out for when it comes to red flags. So as hellish as the
Was
experience was for me, I learned a lot from it.
where the Garden of Eden says, typical Latina. My son's dating a Latina girl right now.
Yeah, some of them are pretty wild. She was from Puerto Rico. She had a thick accent. And one
Yeah.
of the things that was problematic in our relationship was the fact that men would call her and she would be speaking Spanish to a
Yeah.
man who's speaking Spanish to her. And I'm going, what are you saying? Who is that? What are you guys talking about?
Yep.
And she'd be like, "It's not my problem that you can't speak a Spanish. It's not my problem. I don't care. You can learn to speak a Spanish." And I'm like, "Come on, just please speak English. Who are you talking to?" So yeah, it
Wow.
was mental torture
That's crazy. That went on for over a year.
for about a year. I'm
Damn.
I'm not really quite sure what I was
Holy
thinking,
crap.
other than the fact that I just had never dealt with a true narcissist. I think that she's a full blown narcissist, and
Wow.
unfortunately, this is
Well,
kind of a
were the
thing
kids
in
all from the
society
same
that's
dad?
becoming. I really don't know. I don't know who the father was. I don't even know if the context she told me about their father was true or not because she had a high propensity of lying.
Yeah, that's
And
brutal.
she was very secretive about, things like where her daughters lived, her granddaughters. I didn't get to meet any of her family. I don't know where any of them lived. So, definitely huge red flags that I wasn't able to see during that time in my life. And I haven't dated again since. I'm very selective after that happened, and I'm not really in a hurry to be in a relationship.
Have you been in a long-term relationship before her?
Yeah, a couple long-term relationships, and they ended as a result of cheating, not on my behalf, of, on the women's behalf. So I
Good God.
definitely had dated some similar personalities prior to her, but I didn't learn my lesson. I was still living in lust. I still would only date women that I felt a high level of attraction to in the physical. But
Right.
these experiences have taught me that oftentimes an overly sexualized woman is a red flag in and of itself, at least in the society that we're living in and how things are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal. So were you ever married? The you said you had two
Never been
prior?
married.
Huh?
Yeah. I've never been married.
Never been
And
married.
I had,
Were
no,
the
I had,
prior girls sexualized, like presented sexually, I guess is kind of I know there's got to be a good term for it. I'm picturing I know exactly the type of person you're talking about
yeah,
because I've
I
worked
would
with
say
them
so.
myself. Um, but it's that type that you've dated before in the past.
Absolutely. I also am a father of two. I have two sons, and with two different women in my 20s. And
Hmm.
one of the women, my second son's mother, I experienced something that was kind of similar to one of the stories that you were reading. She liked to take a lot of nude photographs, and she wanted to film us having sex and things like that. And she started becoming accusative. She was accusing me of cheating while I was at work, and there was no basis of reasoning as to where this was coming from because I wasn't cheating. I'm not a cheater, and I
Right.
couldn't really fathom why she was thinking this. And she was hacking into my Facebook and other things, wanting to get into my digital communications. So one day when she had got up from the couch to go to the bathroom, she left her tablet on the couch. And because of the fact that she had been accusing me and going through my social media profiles, I just felt this pang of I should take a look in her tablet.
Oh
And when
no.
I did, I discovered hordes of men that she had been sending her nude photographs to and making
Wow.
arrangements for them to cheat while I was at work. And that's what ended that relationship. It was right there on the spot. As soon as I saw it, I said, "No, this we're not going to be together." She was 6 months pregnant when I
Good
when I broke it
God.
off with her. Yeah.
That is brutal.
So
Ooh,
absolutely, brother.
damn. Whew. That was so you have two kids with two different women, or is that two from the same?
No, two different women, and
So that was
actually
from
the
the one.
women
So you broke things off
the
before
women
she.
happen to be cousins. That's the craziest part. I had a son with her cousin prior to her. Now I should have paid attention to that term. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree
Hmm.
because these women were very similar, and
Jeez.
I was only going off of the physical, brother. I just attractive women. I was very very naive and very blind to the ways of these types. So I would say definitely watch out for overly sexualized women. I don't I don't even like makeup anymore. I don't want to date a woman who wears makeup because I consider that a way to attract men. So if you get with a woman who's wearing makeup, one of the things I learned is they're probably not going to stop wearing heavy makeup just because they're in a relationship with you. And
Right.
there's only really one reason a woman wears makeup, and that's to be attractive to the opposite sex. So I personally don't like makeup anymore as a result from what I've learned.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that other men be very weary of these red flags and learn from the mistakes of others like myself.
Hey, Jacob, I want to tell you, Lisa says that you have a really nice voice. Um, and
Thank you, Lisa.
Brian says you're giving some good advice. I saw
Thank
you
you,
and Lisa
Brian.
were,
I
were kind of
appreciate you guys.
kind of going back. Was it you and Lisa that were going back and forth? Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like we started to kind of, go back and forth a little bit, but you
yeah.
know, it's all good. These are important topics, and there are going to be varying opinions.
Yep.
Some people might think that my opinions are kind of harsh now,
No.
but I like to base my opinions off of experience and what I've lived. So I like to try to help other people who are younger than me, maybe not as aware of the pitfalls and what to look out for. And I appreciate channels like yours, Jake. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate you letting me call in and talk about my experiences.
Yeah, no problem. What I was going to ask about the kids. Did you say they're two boys you have? You said you had two kids. I don't know
Yeah,
if you said
two
the gender.
sons.
Two sons.
They're
Um,
15 and 13. Yeah, two sons.
cool, cool. Um, yeah, I've got a 13-year-old, and he's really struggling right now with existentialism. He's like, even last night, he was crying about, he doesn't really know what happens when we all die and where we're all going and stuff like that. I'm just like, dude, you are 13. Like, calm down. Like, I didn't even have
Yeah,
these
those
thoughts
are
until
deep
I was,
thoughts.
yeah, I know. And he's been having them since he's been 10. And so I guess because I was raised religious, my parents didn't have to deal with that with me. And so I'm at a loss because I can't even go to my parents for advice in this regard because all their kids, they never thought about this. And so, yeah, that's the thing I'm struggling with right now with my 13-year-old son is yeah, he's just trying to figure out life and I'm just like, I'm struggling too, but because I think maybe because I just have so many responsibilities and things I have to take care of that I can't just like spend time thinking about these things, right? And getting all worked up over it. But for a
Right.
13-year-old, I
And
could see that being super scary. So, your kids are doing
it
pretty
is.
well then?
And
What's
you know what? They're going through some struggles too. My 13-year-old, he's kind of a problematic child, getting in trouble. So I'm worried about him. My 15-year-old, he's kind of having the existential crisis too. He's a very sweet boy, and he's very saddened by what his life looks like
mm,
because he lives with my sister. His mother lost custody of him, and during my entire 20s, I was a raging alcoholic, and I
hmm,
didn't end up with custody of him. But I'm still able to talk to him and provide him assurance that everything is going to be okay. We didn't get raised during a time where it was okay to have these deeper life thoughts. We were indoctrinated heavy with school and learning and getting ready to be workers in this society. But the shape that the world is taking during these uncertain times, it's becoming uh, that a lot more children are starting to question the world that they're being born into. And I think that we should nourish that and not suppress it because
yeah,
the children are the future, and they're the ones who are going to make the changes in the world that are necessary for things to get better. So good on you for having these talks with your son and not trying to suppress how he feels. And this might be good for you too, Jake, to have these thoughts and conversations with him that you might not have explored when you were his age.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's interesting because he'll be watching videos like history videos on YouTube or science videos on YouTube since he was like the age of 10. And my parents didn't really let me have any, like, I didn't get to see anything. Like, they didn't even let me get on the computer when I was that age. So the only ideas I was ever exposed to were ideas that they would present in public schools. And I do have like a philosophy of it's like if you try and hide certain information from your children, they're eventually going to find it anyways. And so I've never really put a lockdown on that type of those type of thoughts. But now I'm kind of questioning myself, thinking, well, maybe that wasn't necessarily such a great idea because there may be certain instances, or there may be certain topics that some people just aren't ready to deal with or think about until they're at a certain maturity level. And then that's going to be completely dependent on the individual. Because I'm sure there's 13-year-olds out there that can handle it perfectly fine and don't have any issue. So yeah, because I don't know if I mentioned, but like when I did Proctor Care, I think we had like 24 boys that were all in that same like 13-year-old to 19-year-old, well, 13 to 18-year-olds. And every single one of them that we had, they all had like, they all had some commonality to them, but then they all were different in different ways. And that's when I knew that like just the whole nature nurture thing. It's like what works with one kid isn't going to work for another kid. Like the conversation you have with one kid isn't going to work with another kid. I had kids where both parents were died of like drug overdoses, right? And the conversation that I would have with them, or when I would talk to them when they were feeling down, I would have to approach completely differently than the kid whose parents actually would just beat the shit out of them every time they saw him. One kid misses their parents. One kid loved their parents. The other kid's parents are abusive, right? And they're skeptical of authority figures. They're skeptical of me just because I'm the man of the household. And so I've had people who have recently had children and they've asked me for advice, and I'll just start asking questions because in my mind, they're the only universal advice that I ever give people is just don't hit your kids and don't physically or mentally abuse the kids. Anything past that is going to be completely dependent on the kid's temperament, on the kid's life experience. And so therefore there is no universal advice that I can give aside from don't physically abuse your kid and don't mentally abuse your kid. But if your kid
I
is
think
like,
that's great advice.
yeah, I mean, it's
And
just,
I'd say, just to add a little to that, I'd say allow the children to be introspective with themselves, because that's what your son is displaying, is a form of introspection and an ability to question his reality. And
right.
that's not an opportunity that we were given. You said yourself you were put into the pretty much a hardcore indoctrination of school. Your parents didn't allow you to explore these thoughts. So your son is an extension of you, and he's exhibiting the excellent qualities that you possess, and you're allowing him to do that. So I would say you're a great father, and you're doing a good job.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I sometimes wonder. I sometimes, yeah, it's like one area of my life where I'm just like, am I doing this right? Where is the Garden of Eden says that their oldest is 24 and living with his girlfriend who already has a little girl, and I have a 15 and a 14-year-old that are going through those difficult times. Where is the Garden of Eden? Where are the 15 and 14-year-old? Are they girl or boys? My daughter I don't even know what she's going to be like when she's 13. I'm honestly worried. She's so independent. It's worrying. Like she already fights with her mom. She's only 8. She's already sassy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'll like hear I'll be sitting in the other room and listening to how she talks to her mom, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like,
How does her mother handle it? Does she correct her? Does she put up with it?
um, she'll say something like, don't talk to me that way, or why are you talking that way, and that type of stuff. And it's weird too, because it's like it I've noticed that it happens mostly after, and my wife has noticed too, if she'll be watching TV for too long. If she's watching her like show on YouTube, then if she watches it for like 2 hours, for like 2 hours after that, she's not even like the same person. She's sassy. She's
Wild.
talks back. Um, but when I take her out, like I took her out to the theme park like twice last week. On those days, the whole time we were there and outside, out in nature, totally respectful, totally kind. When we got home, she was totally respectful, totally kind. And then the next day, she watched some stuff on YouTube and she became a monster again. Took her back to the theme parks,
That's wild.
totally respectful, totally kind. Come home, totally respectful to the wife, talked like a little girl should, right? And it's almost like when she's in a natural environment, which is being outside, being in the sun, going to the water park, talking to other people in line. Because that's the other thing. Like when we'd be waiting in line, she'd start chatting with the people in front of us. And to me, it's like, this is great because she's actually meeting like other people out in the real world and having conversations with people. And it's so much better for her brain and development. Um, And then the next day, if she didn't have that interaction with people outside in the real world, then she becomes a monster again. Like it's it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I would ask, have you examined the type of content that she's watching? And could that have anything to do with it?
I think it does. Yeah. She watches like if you were to go on YouTube Kids and you'll have like the adults that have like children and the children are like hanging out, like the adults are like doing kid stuff, like playing with toys or opening like unboxing toys or gummies or things like that, mystery eggs and things like that. And so my wife and we've been really trying to like make sure that um when she watches stuff, we try and push her towards watching more long form content instead of just like these 10-minute videos where there's like tons of
Right,
colors on the
right.
screen. It's all like,
Also, the advertisements. I would take a look at what kind of advertisements are flashing. Unless you got the YouTube Premium,
yeah, we've got the premium.
advertisements do quite a bit.
Yeah, we've got the premium.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's the one thing where I'm just like, no way I'm letting my kids watch advertisements. It's brutal on YouTube with the advertisements.
Oh yeah, and I agree. The more long form content, educational, documentary style, I think this stuff is better for children because everything else is kind of like a form of brain rot. It's fast paced. Uh, it's not really facilitating any real growth. It's just pure brain rot entertainment.
Yeah.
So good thinking on your part for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll work on it. It's, it's tough though. Parenting is
Yeah.
brutal.
Well, hey brother, it's been a great conversation. I'm
Yep.
gonna get going here.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Jake.
for chatting with me. Thanks for letting me call in. And I just discovered you earlier through Raymond's thoughts. Earlier, I was in his live stream, and I gave you a sub,
Oh,
and I'll
thank you.
be
Appreciate
tuning
that.
in regularly.
Yeah, Raymond's great. He's a good guy. I've had a couple conversations with him. So, he's very good. How long have you been subscribed to him
Absolutely.
or been
For
following
about a
him?
year now. Yeah, about a year I've been watching him.
Very
I
nice.
really like his content. He's a very intelligent man,
He
and
is.
he's going through it too. He's going through a lot. So you know, we're all in this together, and we got to support each other. So
Yep. Yep. For real. Thank you, Jake. Thanks for calling in. I'm probably going to go too. I was going to go for 2 hours tonight, and we just hit we're just at 2 hours. So I will see
all right,
you
thank
and
you as
everyone
well,
else in the
Jake.
next one. Yep. Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Yep.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. We will talk to you in the next one. Really appreciate everyone's comments. Where is the Garden of Eden? I only have 5. I only have boys, and I have 5 of them. That's great. Are any of them adults yet? Let's see. He needs you, Jake. He might forget about when he starts dating, but for now he needs you. Yeah, he does need me. It's tough. All right, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Peace out.